This is Radio Ecoshock with Alex Smith.
This is Radio Ecoshock. Our guest is Vladimir Tchouprov, a climate and energy campaigner with Greenpeace in Moscow. Vladimir, in the past, you have spoken out against shipments of nuclear materials to Russia. The recent fires revealed more dangers to this whole nuclear project, from the so-called secret cities and maybe even radioactivity from the Chernobyl accident. Please tell us about the nuclear risks posed by these forest fires.
These fires, this hot summer of 2010, discovered another disadvantage of Russian economy, of Russian nuclear industry, Russian nuclear sector. These fires brought to the set of risks of Russian nuclear power plants, as well as a nuclear facility presented by dozen so-called closed military cities where they develop nuclear technology as both civilian and military ones. These risks are associated with failure, the accidents connected with the electric system. This summer, as minimum one reactor shutdown was recognized as a result of overheating of one of the transformers at one nuclear power plant in Russia. Besides that, about dozen disconnecting of electric cable, connecting nuclear power plants with the grid were disconnected, which created some troubles for reactor operating. As well as a heat wave created problem for cooling system, as you know that the typical Russian reactors presented by boiling reactors and pressure water reactors, they need cooling water, which should have special temperature around 30 degrees above zero. This summer, sometimes this cooling water had about 36 degrees, which is very sensitive for any reactor system in Russia. As a result, in one of the nuclear power plants, they had about 4 shutting downs caused by overheating transformers and fires in transformer system. Russian nuclear authorities did not recognize these shutdowns with overheating, but we understand these shutdowns could also be associated and connected with this overheating and the heat waves. As well as these stories, well-known stories around the world with the fires near nuclear cities where they also have facility operating with the plutonium, especially with the Sarov Center, which is in the middle of the Volga River, where the fires come up to this nuclear facility a few thousand meters, which is quite close, as the forest fire speed sometimes could reach 1,000 kilometers an hour. The government even decided to evacuate all this facility with nuclear materials outside of these nuclear cities, nuclear sites. So this summer we had as minimum 2 nuclear cities, nuclear centers, where they had to adopt special preventing measures to decrease risks of fire, of burning down this nuclear facility having all these nuclear materials. So this is very obvious, showed that the nuclear facility, nuclear infrastructure is not adapted for coming climate change and the negative consequences coming with this climate change, like heat waves, where this nuclear facility, which having very sensitive technology, could fail due to these high temperatures. It's very obvious.
Vladimir, there's a lot of discussion in the scientific community about whether this record heat and drought was caused by global warming. What is your opinion about this?
Greenpeace position is very clear. All this global warming, all this new weather, negative consequences, new weather conditions, all this connected and caused by humankind activity with the carbon emission discharge from oil, coal, and gas industry. But in Russia, having quite skeptical attitude to this issue, only about 30% of population recognize and believe that this is the result of humankind activity. As well as political elite, as well as scientific circles, they do not, majority of them, unfortunately, still do not trust that this is the humankind activity result. You know that Prime Minister Putin is well known with his very negative position to Kyoto Protocol, to all this scientific base, saying that this is a result of humankind activity. And till now, in Russian media, it's very obviously, we see that the position of the prime minister, of majority of scientists, they're still quite skeptical. Even now, after these obvious results of climate change, they still did not change their position. Yes, there was a statement from the Russian president, Mr. Medvedev, who associated and said that he said very clearly, this is a climate change and this is a humankind activity. But this is the single voice of one person, which is seen in the voices of scientists who are saying that this hot summer is a result of climate weapon of United States America, having special antennas and stations in Alaska and creating this weather in Central European part of Russia. Or this is a solar activity linked with solar cycles, or this is just moving the center of magnetic field of the Earth. I personally analyzed the media, and from 10 interviews of scientists explaining such a conditions, weather condition in Russia, only one scientist said that this is the result of carbon emission discharge into the atmosphere, which is very clearly showed that Russia is still a castle of skeptical attitude, the state which will not believe to climate change till the end of the day. That's the bad news. But the good news, this summer, we saw some trends like a statement from President Medvedev, like a change of public opinion, which jumped from 20 to 28% people believing that this is humankind activity result. Prime Minister Putin asking this question, now he tried to understand for himself. Maybe he was wrong saying that it's just natural cycle. Maybe it's not. So, yeah, we have quite interesting tendency, and let's see next year how this public and elite opinion will be changed.
Well, thank you so much, Vladimir. And I want to say, reporting from Moscow, our guest has been Vladimir Tchouprov. He's the head of the energy unit at Greenpeace Russia. Download this free interview at ecoshock.org and find out more from Greenpeace at greenpeace.org/Russia. Thank you, Vladimir.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Canada.
Check out the Radio Ecoshock website. We're at ecoshock.org.